Hi folks, Sty again. I just got done doing a Sty story about a little mishap on a squirrel hunting trip. And after doing that one, I got to thinking, and I've got another story that has to do with not being certain that an animal has been put down before you handle it. And I thought, yeah, I should probably do this short little Sty story. It might be of interest to some of the hunters out there. Now, when I lived out in the Western Rockies, anytime we could get our hands on some venison, we were thrilled. I mean, our diet was at least 80% wild game, and we loved venison. So anytime I could get my hands on some venison, I'd take it. You know, I had friends that they weren't so into eating venison, but they loved to hunt, so they knew they could bring a deer to me if they weren't going to, if they just wanted to hunt but didn't want to eat it, that they could bring it to me. My family, we'd eat that whole deer up. Never let it go to waste. Well, we had these friends that lived, they would live part of the year, they typically would spend their summers living in a nice cabin, little homestead, right on the edge of the Cabinet Wilderness area. And that, I mean, they were one step outside of the backcountry. And they had invited us to come up and spend a day with them. Come up in the morning, spend the whole day, and then we'd have a nice dinner, and we wouldn't head home till that evening sometime. So myself and the ex-wife and our children, we loaded up in the truck and headed up to their place. And we got to their place, and this buddy of mine said the wife was concerned that she would be running out of propane in their oven, and she's getting dinner prepped for that evening, and definitely didn't want to run out of propane. He said, so let's jump in my van and we'll run to town and get a bottle of propane. I said, okay, that's neat. I said, and I didn't go anywhere without at least some kind of firearm with me, so other than a sidearm. And I said, so just let me grab my 22 out of my truck. I said, I want to take it with. And he said, sure, because he knew I always carried one or two firearms with me all the time. So I grabbed my 22 rifle and threw it in the van. And we jumped in and we headed to town. We got to town, got our propane, and we're on our way back up. Now, it's about a 9-10 mile trip. And we're on our way back, and part of that trip is on a state highway. And we're going down the highway, and in front of us is a big 3/4 ton pickup truck. Now we're in a I believe it was a Ford cargo van, you know, just a regular full-size, maybe 3/4 ton van. Well, there's a 3/4 ton pickup truck in front of us on the highway, and we're doing 55, 60, and they're probably a fifth of a mile in front of us. All of a sudden, we see this deer cut out of the ditch line on the driver's side, comes up on the road, and pow, that pickup truck hits that deer, and it hits the deer square in the head with the driver's side headlight. That's where the deer hit. The body of the deer never touched the truck. It just spun that deer right off the road and back into the ditch. Well, that truck pulled right off to the side because there was busted headlight all over the road and everything. He pulled off to the side, and so we pulled off behind him. And I walked over and looked in the ditch, and yeah, the deer's just laying there. And that deer's done, you know. It was quick. And we talked to the fellow, made sure he was all right. We just kicked the debris off the road, helped him kick the debris off the road, and we asked him, would you like our help? We'll help you put the deer in the back of your truck, take it, you know, at least you get something out of the damage, you know, get to take the deer home, because again, the body had not been hit by the truck, just the head. And he said, no, I don't want the deer. He says, my family, they're not so big on venison, and he says, I don't want to mess with it. He says, if you guys want it, go ahead and take it. We said, oh, okay. He said, we won't pass up free venison. So off he went, and my buddy, he says, do me a favor, jump in the van and pull it over here to the deer, and I'll grab the deer, drag it up on the road, and throw it in the back. I said, okay. So I got in the van, and I pulled it over there, and here, he was a big fella, and he went down the ditch, grabbed that deer by the hind legs, drug it out of the ditch, and opens up just as I stopped, the back doors are open, and he pitches that deer in the van. And I said, I was thinking we'd field dress it before. He says, we'll field dress it. He says, we're 10 minutes from the cabin, so we'll field dress it when we get to the cabin. I said, okay. So we're driving up this mountain. About 5 minutes into the trip up the mountain, all of a sudden we hear this really odd clunking sound, like it's coming from the bed of the cargo van. And all of a sudden my buddy's eyes got as big as saucers, and he looked at me and he's babbling. He's just da 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 da. And I turned around, I looked over my shoulder, and here's this, and it wasn't a small deer. Here's this big white-tailed doe standing in the back of the van, and she's mad. I mean, almost crazy mad. Her eyes are going every which way, and she's got her legs spread out to hold herself up, and all of a sudden she starts dancing around back there, and my buddy's panicked, and he goes, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And, you know, those were my younger days. We probably should have just stopped the van and both got out of it and opened the back doors and tried to let her out. But no, instead, I reached down beside the seat and grabbed my .22 rifle, my Glenfield .22, and shot her right in the van. Good quick headshot. Why she didn't die from getting hit by that truck, I'm amazed. I am absolutely amazed. I cannot, for the life of me, I've seen a lot of animals hit by vehicles and have been amazed by how durable and tough those animals are. But she was the toughest one I've ever seen, because to get impacted in the head like that at 55 to 65 miles an hour from a truck, nothing should have survived that. But she did, and she stood up right in the middle of that van, right in the back. The worst part is she could have landed right in our laps. She could have jumped right up in the cab with us, and that would have really been a mess. I think we would have been hurt. I really do. But oddly enough, I was a little concerned that all the adrenaline that must have built up in her body from the trauma, that the meat would probably be bad. I've had that, I've experienced that before, and I'm sure a lot of other people have experienced that. The adrenaline gets pumped into the system so bad, it actually taints the meat. But oddly enough, no. In fact, she was very tasty. She was very good. Not a single part of her got wasted. But oh boy, I tell you what. Yeah, it was drinks around the campfire that night just to calm down from that incident. Go to town for a little bottle of propane and end up having a deer battle in the back of the van. Yeah. So even when you think you're certain that an animal has expired, double check. Just always double check. So there you go. Another that animal woke up kind of story from Sty North. And I hope you enjoyed it. and we'll try to get some more out. And until then, this is Sty Norris saying, you all have a very nice day. Bye-bye.